So one GPU, a graphics processor unit, can cost up to like $10,000 to create an entire server of processors that are capable of running large language models. You really need like a fleet of gaming PCs that cost, well, a lot more than what I have right now. And this is a talk that I attended in Austin, Texas, and it talks about OpenAI's process, how they can create models that replicate ChatGPT. It addresses some of the key points. For example, the problem that Gen AI creates excess information that's not very used, the cost of using GPUs, the parity of what I'll call like fake AI, which is really just humans, reinforcement learning with humans that are inputting. So it's really just using AI to train, or it's using people to teach AI. So there's also these companies that are basically farming out AI skills, asking people with abilities and to teach AI how to do things. Well, the only way that you could prevent this from happening is if you had basically no one fed the AI, which is what's happening now with some of the actors and in the media industry. Artists are unionizing and saying that they are taking a stance against using their data from being trained in large language models. You can't stop it. I actually requested Meta, that's the company that owns Facebook. I said, I opt out of using my Facebook information to train your AI. And guess what? They said, we are not able to approve your request to be excluded. We're reviewing them on a case-by-case basis, and we're reviewing the local laws that cover your case. So, local laws? How about the Consumer Protection Act and the Digital Services Act? That's an EU regulation. Well, technically, what does the US have? What is the United States' digital privacy laws? When I rewatch this talk that I attended, it brings to mind a lot of really important topics around Gen AI. You can actually see the whole talk. It's about over an hour long. It's on my YouTube channel. It dives into this paper, really. Though after the event, we went out to a bar and we just hung out. I got to meet the other data scientists and engineers that were there. It was a community of people inspiring each other to innovate and create new digital AI products and businesses. And
it's about 12 to 14,000 pairs that they've shown. So that kind of shows you that that's about how much data you need, so long as it's high quality.
Is there a greater number of examples in M2 than M1?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because as the model gets better, you want to show up more examples. Because probably early on, the examples are not very good. That's probably what you're seeing. In fact, this isn't actually new. We actually see that, I want to say in the OpenAI's aligning to instruct paper, the first few iterations have less data than the last few iterations too. So you also see this in other approaches too, and that's why. But later models are just better.
Did they talk about trying ensembles for SFP?
They don't mention it in this paper at all, no.
It will be interesting to try
Would you want to have duplicates then? You're saying that as you go from model, let's say 1 to 2, they get better. If you ask a question to model 1 and it gives a worse answer, presumably model 2 would give, wouldn't it make sense to have the same question asked twice?
I suppose it could. Yeah, I think they're thinking, and this is my thinking too, that if you see something in M1, by the time it gets to M2, it's already in the weights of the model. So you've already seen that example. It's in the weights of the model. It already knows how to answer it. So I don't know if there's much gains to just saying like, they're constantly adding to duplicated data. I think that's kind of what we see in like other papers like Lima, where some very small but highly curated data sets are able to actually produce very strong models. Where the whole idea in Lima is that they take the baseline Llama 1, they handcraft 1,000 really high quality examples, and when they SFT on Lima, they end up that Llama is a hairline underneath ChatGPT. Or ChatGPT's seen about like 50,000 to 70,000 examples from RLHF.
It does seem like you still have a problem about the questions that you generated by the chat anyway. Because if the questions are not very good, you're not going to the quality of those questions. And I feel like that's really where they probably could do some work in trying to improve the questions.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think that's a very big area of open research, is what you just said, is how do we get better quality outputs? Because the problem here that you have is a lot of your compute is generating outputs that you're never going to use. You're running really big LLMs. So to give you an idea, you probably need about 8 A100 GPUs to run Llama 70 billion, unquantized in FP32, which is what they've been doing in this paper. And furthermore, if you could just generate like one really good example, you don't need to generate many. In fact, that's the problem with Code Llama, that you're spending a lot of time just generating solutions, or possible solutions, they don't work. So much of your output from AI doesn't work, and then a couple do, and then we're just rinsing and repeating. So very much, I 100% agree with you, that is the future direction of how do we get better. And that's kind of another area too of like, well, how do we actually motivate LLMs to quote unquote do the right thing? So far, SFT is kind of that like jumping off point. Take SFT, we want to start at SFT. And then when we say from SFT, we're going to say, okay, let's do some preference optimization. Of course, it comes down to the strategies of like, how do we do it? Do we RLHF? But now we need to build reward models. We need people. That's expensive.
But if you need the middle of the road, how do you approach